This next question comes from Jessica Rivas. She says they've purchased farmland that had been abandoned for decades. It's covered in brambles. She wants to put cows, chickens, and goats on it. And Jessica says every farmer we have talked to has offered the same suggestion: obtain soil samples and fertilize it. They've promised quick improvements with our land if we fertilize it. I don't have a lot of experience, but I did see improvements in the land when I rotationally grazed animals. The improvements took time. They were not mind-blowing, but they were certainly noticeable. My questions are, is there ever a reason to fertilize land before you've put animals on it? Are there any risks or benefits to animals who consume grass/hay from fertilized land? And will the fertilized land be more productive than land that hasn't been fertilized? Is fertilizer toxic to the people who have to live around it? So maybe let's start with that first one. Is there ever a reason, Joel, to fertilize land before you're going to put animals on that land?
Well, fertilizer is a big topic. There's good fertilizer and bad compost is fertilizer. So first of all, let me just I want to and Jessica, thank you for the question. Clearly, what Jessica is asking is for the group of fertilizers that we would call chemical fertilizers. So this is chemical acidulated, chemical fertilizers that you'd buy down at the industrial farm store. She's not talking about fertilizing with cow manure or compost or something like that. So, with that in mind, no, I don't think there's ever a use for chemical fertilizers, but I'm a great big fan of fertilizers. I'm a great big fan of fertilizing. All right. But I don't do it with chemical fertilizers that will, if they get on your hands, they if you have a cut on your hand, it'll burn your hand like mustard. Chemical fertilizers are completely annihilating to earthworms because they're acidulated, so they actually burn the skin right off of earthworms. They literally burn them to death. So yeah, I'm not a fan of chemical fertilizers. So let's throw out the chemical fertilization issue for now. I have if I may use a PC, I'm a zero tolerance chemical fertilizer guy. Okay, so what are we gonna do with these brambles? All right, the question, the thing that has developed this is we've got this piece of land, got a bunch of brambles on it. How can we move that? Remember, here's the thing to remember: all vegetation that exists on a piece of property is a physical manifestation of the cumulative effect of the management that has gone on that land before. For people like Jessica, who is, you didn't read it all, Sina, but a little bit of her question is she and her husband are having a bit of tension in their in their decisions about what to do. And Jessica, I would say, look at your husband and say, do we have brambles in our lawn? And he'll say, no, you never see brambles in the lawn. So the lawn has the same soil in it as the brambles that are outside the yard fence, probably within a few feet. It's the same soil, same climate, same place. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that your lawn gets mowed routinely. Your management and brambles can't handle mowing. They can't handle routine mowing. They are opportunists that come up when due to lack of managed grazing, the grass gets thin. The grass actually implodes. The grass crowns implode. It thins out. As it thins out, that creates bare ground where brambles, birds are eating berries and things out, and they're dropping seeds around. And so suddenly you have bare ground. And so nature, to put a protective cover on itself, grows something prickly and brambly and thistly in order to protect that bare ground from being exposed again. And so that is a natural thing. And of course, in Illinois too, I think this is Illinois. Um, was this Illinois? No, the first one was Illinois. I don't know where this is. But anyway, if you're east of the Mississippi, essentially the brambles are an early successional manifestation of a return to woods. In other words, east of the Mississippi, if you walk away from your lawn, from a golf course, from a football field, in 10 years, it's going to be growing trees. Every single square foot of grass east of the Mississippi is man-made. Now, I know environmentalists don't like to hear that, but before the Europeans were here, the Native Americans' tool was not a lawnmower, it was fire. And they strategically used fire to burn back the woody vegetation, trees, brambles, brush, in order to bring on the grass, because the Native Americans wanted bison and elk and deer to hunt, along with passenger pigeons and all the seeds that grow in a pasture, in a prairie setting. Forest ecosystems are actually fairly sterile. They're sterile. They don't make very many seeds. They don't make very many insects. They don't make very many bugs. That's why wild turkeys can't have babies in the woods. Wild turkeys require grass, pasture, in order to grow enough bugs to feed their little poults. Poults need about 29% protein, very, very high protein. You will never find that kind of protein in the woods. So the woods is where they roost and go for protection, but the field is where they eat. And that's why when you have a lot of edge effect with woods next to pasture, that's when you get a proliferation of turkeys and grouse and all sorts of these birds that roost in the trees but feed in the field. It's called edge effect, that actually stimulates things. So your brambles, Jessica, are symptomatic of the abandonment. You started out by saying, this place has been abandoned for a long time. The abandonment took the people out of it, the management out of it, the mowing, grazing, whatever people were doing with that land. And then as the grasses thinned out due to lack of exercise and management, the bare soil made an open, a germination tray for the brambles to come in as the beginning of trees and succession that if you hadn't moved there and now we're, taking care of it, this would be a forest in 20 years. So what you're seeing is that natural succession. So how do you stop it? Well, the quickest way is simply to mow. Just start treating your pasture like your lawn. Most people's lawn is actually way more productive than their pasture because it's cared for more carefully. And so if you will apply that same care, so how do you can mow the brambles. You can, for example, raise some pigs and put their feeder out in those brambles, let the pigs tromp it out. You could put cows, put a mineral box out there or a water trough right in the middle of the brambles. The cows will, tromp that out. You can put a shade mobile out there for pigs or cows or sheep, and they'll trample out the brambles. And my point is, you can use animal impact to actually tromp out the brambles, and they will stir up and activate a new forage base. Now, it might be real weedy at first, but that's okay. Weeds are fine. We call them forbs. Whether it's, it'll come back in a diversity of more succulent. The point is, it'll come back in more succulent things. And so you have mentioned the point in your question, Jessica, you mentioned the point of time and how on a previous property you saw, changes pretty rapidly when you started controlled grazing. And you'll see the same thing here. but it does take time. You know, the biological time clock is real. Very seldom do biological things heal in a day. You know, you get a scab on your hand, you knock some skin off your hand. You can put all sorts of fun things on it, and it's you're not going to have a scabless hand tomorrow. You know, it'll be a week or two until you finally get healed up. Same thing is true. So this land that's been abandoned for a while, that biological clock that started ticking, moving it toward a successional forest, now you're trying to wind that clock back to a more prairie forage based ecosystem. And that clock has its biological, as a biological time clock, and it may take 3, 4, 5 years to actually get it back to where you want it. But you can do it. Let time be your friend. You know, don't go in and get frustrated and impatient with it. Let time be your friend, and just systematically, strategically, pragmatically begin changing the management on those brambles back to something else. And you can help it with a mower. You can do some of that. Now, John Kemp, who just spoke at our Stockman Grass Farmer gathering here a month ago, said that if you have brambles, you can mow them and then immediately spray on boron. So you can just get borax and dissolve it in some water and spray that on the freshly mowed tips of the brambles. And he says that will kill a bramble clear down into the roots. I haven't done that. I don't know if it will, but that was one of his, if you want to do something a little more dramatic or faster, that certainly is worth a try. Get your backpack sprayer and go out there and work on it. Or, if this is a large acreage, you can do something else. But certainly strategic animal impact, come alongside with the mower. And then obviously the fertility part is the animal, the manure, the dung. If you can get compost, if you can get some chicken litter somewhere, something that's a little more benign than chemical fertilizer, and put that on, you're gonna see a change. Friends, want to dive deeper into our thought-provoking conversations? Become part of the Beyond Labels family today by joining below. For any gift amount, you'll get access to the full uncut episodes.
Every contribution, whether big or small, keeps this podcast going.
So join us and expand your Beyond Labels experience. Thank you.